G'day and welcome back to another episode of the Aussie Investing Machine. Thank you so much for joining me. In this episode, I wanted to go over the company Medicus. If you watch my latest live stream, you will know that I did a scan for the top ASX growth stocks, and Medicus was top of this list. Now, I haven't done a video on this company before, so I thought it was a pretty good time to make one. The main activity for Medicus is to provide software to hospitals. This includes both scheduling software, but also imaging software. They've seen a pretty good take up of their software in the US, so I thought we'd go over one of their investor presentations and dig into the details behind this company. Obviously, to make it into one of the top growth stocks when I did my scan, they definitely have some very good fundamentals. We'll get into that soon as well, but let's jump into the report. As always, guys, this video is for educational purposes only and is not financial advice or a stock buy recommendation. Before making any financial decisions, please do your own research and consult a licensed financial advisor. With that out of the way, let's jump straight into it. So, Medicus, here's their chairman's address from their 2020 AGM. To start things off, we've got the chairman's report, which gives us an overview of the business operations. He also talks a little bit about their new contract wins in North America, and then he goes on to talk about their financial results. I've highlighted some of the key items here, which I think are very interesting. Their revenue went up by 13%, and their net profit increased by 21% compared to 2019. This is an outstanding result, and probably one of the reasons why the company made my top stocks list. We can see also an increase in their retained cash. They've now got $43 million of cash on hand, which is more than enough to pay for their short-term liabilities. Looking at their dividend policy, we can also see the payout ratio is only around 50%, leaving them a lot of headroom to increase their dividend. So on this slide, we can see the global layout of Medicus. They've got headquarters in Australia, Europe, and the US, which are their three main target markets. On this slide, we get a look at two of their main product lines. I'll put some notes on here so it's clear exactly what piece of software does what. You can see the Visage RIS is for workflow and database type work, including scheduling. And then the Visage 7 is that medical imaging software that we talked about earlier on. Now, I really like this slide. It gives us a clear picture of the company's results. We can see that net underlying revenue is up 23%, which is a massive increase. We're obviously looking for over 15% in growth stocks. We've got a debt-free company, we've got a strong balance sheet, and then their EBIT margin is absolutely massive at 52%. Here's another financial-based slide, and we can see a very strong and increasing cash balance. And then we can also see the split of their revenue. We can see if I blow this up, North America accounts for most of their revenue. However, it is growing in Australia, and you can see them starting to take a bit of a hold in Europe. More on that later. On this slide, it shows us a revenue split of the company based on their different services that they provide. We can see that the license revenue, that is the licensing of their software, makes up most of the company's revenue. Additional support to assist with training in this software, fixing issues, etc., is actually charged in addition to the license revenue. So you can see that also makes up a substantial part of the company's revenue. On this slide, we can see what the company thinks are their operational advantages. So we can see that their software is highly scalable. There's very limited capital expenditure in order to implement their software solutions. As we mentioned before, the training and installation is charged as a professional service, so they make more money from this. And then they've got a high operating leverage and margins continue to grow, which we'll see in a couple of slides. So this slide gives us an idea of the company's margin expansion, and we can see that margin growing year on year. Looks like they're about to top out their EBIT margin, but it's still extremely high at over 50%. This is their year in review slide where it looks at the different clients which they've engaged over the period. More on this soon. They actually give a case study of each of their clients and explain what sort of position those clients are in the hospital market. Just a small update here from the company on the adverse conditions we saw in 2020, which had no real impact on the business. A lot of their staff were able to work from home, and then pretty much the company was able to operate at 100% capacity. So that shows us that the company is very resilient and is definitely ready to take on any future threats that might be similar to what we saw in 2020. Here's a snapshot of their Visage RIS software, which we talked about before. It was that scheduling style software. I really like this slide. It gives us a good look at exactly how it operates. If I zoom in here, we can see there's sort of a day-by-day list of different rooms and then time slots available. It also brings up all the different details of potential patients or people who are using the hospital. All the information's there, and it obviously is very streamlined. I really like how the company is showing off their product here, and it gives investors a real sense of what they're offering. On this slide, we can see a brief summary of how this product has been performing, which includes some long-term contracts, some additional revenue, and some real upside in the organic growth of the software. Now, this is the other software type that we talked about earlier, which is the medical imaging software. It's called Visage 7.0, and it continues to be number one in speed, functionality, and scalability in this segment. This slide gives us the reasoning about why their software is so important, and they're calling it a massive data explosion. Here we can see some of the file sizes of typical medical imaging types. As you can see, something like a PET scan or a PET scan is over 10 gigabytes, meaning that's a huge file and is obviously very difficult to share with colleagues, and it requires specialized software, which Medicus actually provides. They give a good comparison here about how legacy technology works versus their solution. So let's have a look at that. You can see the legacy technology relies on a compress and send model from the machine through to a server or a computer hardware where it's compressed and then ends up on the radiologist's computer. Their solution is to have a render server and then broadcast it to multiple devices, presumably on a cloud style setup. This is obviously an advantage because it means anyone can access it from, as you can see there, a range of devices, whether it's a tablet, mobile phone, laptop, or desktop computer. This is different to the legacy solution because the legacy solution relies on viewing the imagery on the radiologist's computer, which is directly fed from the server in-house. Here we talk about their Nines product, which expands on what we were just talking about. This is their software as a service, which offers the Visage platform on the cloud. We can also see that there's some elements of artificial intelligence built into this. So this involves picking up items in medical imaging which might be an issue for a patient, and this software tries to, alert physicians and radiologists that there's something wrong, and it can help pick things up if perhaps a human makes a mistake and misses it. We mentioned earlier they showcase the different hospitals that they've got contracts with and tell you a little bit about those clients. So in these few slides, we can see here Northwestern Hospital. It's in the top 10 hospitals in North America, which is huge. And they've got a 22 million contract over 5 years with Northwestern. Similarly, we can see Langone, again, 25 million over 7 years. It's also in the top 10 hospitals in North America. So another great client. And then we've got LMU Klinkum, which is in Munich, which is different to the other hospitals, obviously, because it's in Europe. It paves the way for further European sales. So it's their second major hospital contract in Germany, and it's one of Europe's largest teaching hospitals. So a good step forward in Europe for the company. There are a couple more examples in there, but if you want to check those out, I'll leave a link in the description to this particular report. Let's move on to some of the competitive advantages of the Visage product. We can see here there's savings in terms of the infrastructure. There's an increased efficiency, obviously, because of that remote viewing. It gives us greater clinical accuracy, improved physician engagement, and delivers superior value. So that's what they're marketing the Visage product as. And obviously it's proving popular with clients at the moment. Here we can see what they're planning for new products. So this is talking about having one viewer for all images. Obviously the Visage product is limited to a handful of imaging types, But here we can see they're planning to bring on the One Viewer technology, which will allow full integration of all medical imagery. The next slide I wanted to look at is the AI slide. This talks about using their artificial intelligence in order to assist medical professionals. We can see the few points here talk about embedding AI in the imaging equipment. It allows doctors to better prioritize cases with the assistance of the AI. It helps with screening, helps with diagnostics. So overall, if they can implement AI into their current solutions, it could be a huge benefit for medical professionals. So we can see on this slide their first AI product, which is ready for the market. It's currently pending FDA approval, and it helps with diagnosing breast density issues. It provides on-the-fly assessment of breast density, and it's currently being developed in collaboration with the breast imaging team at Yale. So an exciting new product for the company here. Be really interesting to watch if this gains FDA approval and then the market impact it will have. So to wrap things up here, we've got their summary page. We'll just go through the points on this slide. We can see their North American footprint continues to grow, which we already know is their revenue leader. Transaction revenues up 31% year on year, which is huge. They've got market-leading technologies. We saw some of that artificial intelligence stuff, which looks really promising. They've got a growing product portfolio. They've got proven implementation and an unparalleled value proposition. Overall, Pro Medicus is looking like a really exciting company. I'm interested to know what you think of Pro Medicus. Maybe you've invested in the company yourself. Leave me a comment below and let me know what you think. If you haven't done so already, please give the video a like if you've learned something. And if you would like to see more content like this, please subscribe to the channel. That's all from me. Until next time, I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.